power level over 9,000, but can't get ahead of ourselves because this best of 3 is going to determine who will move on. And of course, who unfortunately tournament life will be over. Molten is going to be the first map, and we are seconds away from getting started. nosfa is going to be on the Sorlag and Maxter on the Galena. It's going to take not only some great skills, but also just some management of those totems. And here we go. We are live looking through nosfa's point of view to start us off. He's immediately heading over to that rail, throws out that spit right away. May double back to that Mega, gonna pick up that light before he does. And there it is. nosfa will get the Mega, and his opponent Maxter will grab that heavy.
Also, just throwing it out there, last time they played, it was actually nosfa who won 2-1 earlier this stage. Let's see if we're gonna see a repeat of that, or indeed if Maxter can overthrow the Brazilian superstar. Kicking it off though, nosfa, that railgun, so deadly. 3 for 3, 100% accuracy. That's gotta hurt, especially with that added stack that nosfa has to work with. Maxter just absolutely can't contest directly just yet.
Yeah, I mean, nosfa right now is looking like a beast. He is a tank, a refrigerator, all those things together. And 1 minute in, could get the first exchange right here. Spit does come out, and a beautifully placed rocket after the bounce. And then a rail off the spawn, shooting an 80% still. You know, that 100%, that feels really good, Flea, coming right out of the gates and shooting something like that. But nosfa definitely wanting to set the pace here of this matchup. He is absolutely rolling like a boulder down the hill. Another great rail, followed up by a second, and that will net him the Mega. A quick 3-0 lead here in the first 90 seconds for nosfa.
85% rail for the man from Brazil. Misses a few shots there though. That allowed Maxter to get a fair bit of free damage off, but I don't think it's nearly enough for him to push onto heavy, especially after taking that spit damage. nosfa should have been able to kind of keep track of where Maxter went. And now the Argentinian just really isn't in any position to show his face over at Mega. Has to content himself with the smaller resources, trying to rebuild his stack before he can really make a move.
Yeah, and off of those, oh, hold on, they're going to meet each other in the back hallway. nosfa's rocket wins out on that one, and Maxter really had to prioritize rail there too as well. You don't want to get caught out in a long-range battle without a long-range weapon. We're going to have the dance happen right here as both players shooting out those rails, and once again, Maxter on the well, not the receiving end of that, as we still see a 58% coming out for nosfa. Maxter does finally get one off, but he is constantly looking for some sort of life support here, Flea. Always down below 75. Totem comes out, that one gets shot. Another great rail coming out here by nosfa, and just unreal the amount of damage that he's doing so far.
Both players are actually railable for a moment there, but Maxter, too hesitant to peek. Doesn't want to risk it just yet, so nosfa gets away with heavy and Mega. Stack's definitely working in his favor, same goes for the damage output. nosfa so far slapping his opponent around. And Maxter still just getting phased off the map. nosfa even going to do a bit of self-damage here and there to deny the small armors as well. And I think we're coming up on, what, 20, 30 seconds since Maxter has been able to secure a single piece of armor read. This just really isn't going in his favor.
I mean, and these rails that are coming out consistently from nosfa makes that job even more difficult. Literally every time that we've seen Maxter on the screen of nosfa, it has resulted in some sort of damage. And frankly, we've seen nosfa run through some of these totems like they are just no big deal. There, finally, a rail does connect from Maxter, but some LG will once again wipe away clean that armor from his opponent. nosfa continuing to just roll the major items. 7 heavy, 7 megas, only 1 heavy for Maxter, and that is the 4th frag for nosfa. I really do like how he is using you know, sort of his body to kind of get in there and take it to the fight, but also the spit and his speed put all these things together, and I feel like he continuously is catching Maxter off guard.
I think that speed is helping nosfa so much. Galena, she's just the slow champion. She doesn't have anything to work with in terms of movement ability. And when you then put someone as talented as nosfa on the sword leg, she can really just dance circles around you. And it's part of the reason why maxter, he isn't safe at any point. He always has to be paranoid for nosfa just peeking around the corner somewhere and landing a good rail. Now maxter is a player who has incredible movement skills on his own, so for him to pick Galena in this matchup immediately puts him at a sizable disadvantage. Now for the first time, maxter actually securing a cycle of both of the major items. Is this the start of a comeback? We're only halfway through the map, so still entirely possible.
Well, hitting those rails will certainly be helpful as well. nosfa does grab that mega. His armor looking a little low, but he's going to pick up that light, and that puts him in a great spot. Clearing out the totems, very, very nice. We talked a little bit about how important that management was going to be, because if you don't have the movement on Galena, you've hopefully got to be using that as some sort of advantage against your opponent. And when nosfa denies that out and is hitting these rails, that is going to make his job incredibly difficult. Now, we're over halfway through this match already, and nosfa has held on to a pretty considerable grip of control throughout this entire matchup.
Yeah, we did see one moment where it seemed like maxter finally gets himself in some control, but nosfa, even when he's out of it, he still has that base stack to work with. Just look at this, maxter setting up a very nice trap, but it is still nosfa who just throws his body at his opponent with that superior stack, like you just mentioned, Wheat, and clutches out yet another frag.
Almost was able to pick one up there, thanks to the totem thrown out as well, but nosfa lives to see another day, and he's up to 6 frags right now. maxter really doing everything he can to try to chip away, whether it's that machine gun or hitting those long-range rails, but nosfa's kind of got his number. He's hitting those defensive shots, once again doing a great job clearing out those totems. And he has not really felt threatened very much at all during this particular map. There was the one time where he was kind of in that danger zone, but was quickly able to recover.
And now we're starting... Oh, nice little
There it
rail,
is.
maxter. Yeah, finally his first frag, but he still has his work cut out for him. And now there's something else that comes into play, Wheat. maxter, like we touched upon earlier, has nothing in terms of speed to favor him, whereas nosfa is so mobile. If you now have to chase down 5 frags on a champion that not only outstacks you by default, but also outspeeds and outmaneuvers you, that's an incredibly tall order for maxter. He needs to be able to set traps, catch nosfa in bad situations, because otherwise he just isn't going to catch up with his opponent.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, the way that nosfa is playing right now, I don't expect him to just open up 5 mistakes, right, that would let maxter capitalize. So to your point, this is going to be very difficult. Now, nosfa, though, with this lead, can still apply some pressure, right? Fighting that little rail battle there, I think that's a smart move. You hit that rail, there's not much that Max can do. In fact, he might just clean up one more, and he does, and that just gets him one step closer to sealing the deal on this one. So I like the fact that nosfa decided to not completely pull back on the offense, still standing strong, fighting with those rails, getting up close and personal, because to your point, even if he does, say, lose a single frag to maxter, is he really going to be able to chase him down? And nosfa, it's not really going to matter anyway, because he does hold that ground, gets that rail, another frag on the board, 8-1.
Doesn't seem like nosfa is willing to give up any more room to his opponent. And indeed, I think that at this point, maxter needs nothing short of a miracle to even have a shot at this game. nosfa seems to be running away with it, and I fully agree with you, Wheats. He's striking a perfect balance between still taking these fights and slowing maxter down, preventing him from really getting stack and momentum going, but yet holding a defensive enough position to make sure that he doesn't get overrun himself. And with a minute left on the clock, maxter will get another frag. But is there still time? He needs at least 1 kill per 10 seconds. I just don't know if that's going to happen. Look at how nosfa is now really slowing it down too.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, like I said, that one frag there at the just above the jump pad, it was like, okay, I'll shrug it off, not that big of a deal, because here is where it happens. The chase is on, the air control is there, and that's like a frustrating chase to go on. That is a muscle car being chased by just plain old yellow cab. It's just not going to happen. And 7 frags still separating these two. nosfa, even though he's got no armor stats, holding strong, landing those rails down to 15, but it will not matter. nosfa takes the first game and opens it up with momentum in his favor. However, I think it should be pointed out that with the champion picks, this was already somewhat of an uphill battle for maxter. nosfa played it exactly the way that he needed to, and getting that lead allowed him to use not only his great rail accuracy, but also that speed and utility to just sort of hold it down and keep that victory in his pocket.
Absolutely. Now, a lot of people were wondering, I could tell in chat, what server this is being played on. Don't worry, this is a South American server, so both players have really low ping tuning into this matchup. Now, the next map that we're going to be taking a look at, Wheat, will be Veil of Nav, and that is an entirely different battleground than what we just saw in comparison to Molten Falls. Molten Falls, lots of open spaces, long hallways, but this is the complete opposite. A really tightly knit, small vertical map, a lot of layers, but no room for anyone to really run away.
Yeah, and it is, I mean, you can't just look at that, you know, that match and go, oh, well, after that, like, nosfa's got this no problem. I mean, you still have a Keel versus a Ranger. I'm, you know, a fan of both of these picks on here. Obviously, grenades can go a long ways off of the spawn. You've got that nice little stack going, and of course Rangers got a little bit more mobility in the grand scheme of things, but I wouldn't necessarily say just because nosfa won that first game that he's going to be able to easily take this one. And to your point, different map, different champions, and a whole new 10 minutes, which makes it really important. To your point, we've got equal pings on both sides for the most part, low pings, so really not an issue. These players are putting their blood, sweat, and tears and heart and soul out into the arena in this one, and nosfa just has that slight advantage getting the momentum there on game number 1.
Now, map number 2. Two completely different champions, of course. nosfa will be running the Ranger, giving him quite a bit of mobility, extremely important on the vertical map that is Veil. Can completely avoid having to go up the bounce pad or through a teleporter to reach that top section of the map. But on the other hand, maxter, so is running the Keel, making it basically the inverse of what we saw earlier. Now, maxter has the base stack, and he's got that extra damage potential with the grenades, which works really well on this specific map, because it's really just one choke point after another, isn't it? If you just think about rockets, LG down below at rail, it's all just choke points being linked, and those grenades can really wreak havoc.
Yeah, it was a versus Rafa. So on this map earlier today, the first quarterfinal, we saw maxter play Keel. And honestly, we've seen Rafa play Keel many times and kind of, you know, manhandle his opponents in some regards. And maxter did the exact same thing to him. Really good on those grenade angles. Popped, even forced a suicide on Rafa one time, a grenade from behind popping him and then blowing up a rocket. So, you know, based off of that, Rafa was playing Galena. So Ranger a little bit different in that regard, but if that's any indication of kind of how comfortable maxter feels with this particular champion on this particular map, I'd say that's a good one. He did win that map versus Rafa. He still lost the series, but that was a pretty large victory, one of the largest beatdowns I think we've seen against Rafa. Yeah. That final score 17-5.
I mean, having Rafa drop a single map, that's not a common sight. Having him lose by such an amount, that happens once in a blue moon, if that. Now, it looks like both of the players have readied up, so we're about to load into the game. For those of you just joining us, this is the final game of the day, a loser bracket matchup between nosfa and maxter. First map went to nosfa, meaning that if he takes this one too, he continues, whereas his opponent maxter will drop out of the tournament.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone in chat wants to see either of these players go. I'm seeing a lot of those messages like, I wish they would have played earlier. I want to see both players advance. Well, I hate to break it to you, but when it comes to Quake, 2 players enter and only 1 comes out on the other side, and this is one of those cases. So, yeah, gonna have to deal with that. But here we go. We're about to get started here on Vale, and can Maxter bring it back and force us to a 3rd and final map? Wouldn't bother me if he did. I'd love to see these folks go the distance, but nosfa does have an opportunity to stop Maxter in his tracks and unfortunately send him home, which would be incredible considering what a great weekend Maxter has had. And we are now officially live, looking through nosfa's eyes here on the start. We did see Maxter based on the top. He did grab himself that heavy. nosfa is going to arsenal up and grab the mega and getting that first initial damage off. A lot of LG coming out there. Still a long time until we see that heavy. Ooh, a missed rocket jump, but that's not going to be too bad here with on a ranger. The rails are coming out now, Flea, and I would expect to see some rail wars happening here on Vale.
Absolutely. We saw Rail once again be instrumental on the previous map as well. Nice little cheeky shot by Maxter right there. Both players now firmly equipped with the full Unholy Trinity in hand, so they all have basically a complete arsenal. Something that isn't always the case on this map, because there's a few weapons that you can kind of zone off, like the LG or the Rail. That won't be happening, at least not this time. Very measured, calculated opening. No all-ins just yet. Around 5 seconds between the major items. I like what Maxter's doing. Picked up heavy, immediately came right up to pressure nosfa a bit. Mega will be taken up by the Brazilian, but the rail connects. Wow. No, Maxter is still lingering around with just 5 points of health. But nosfa sent right back because of those grenades, unable to make anything happen. But I think he knows. He knows that Maxter is just hanging on to a sliver of health right now.
And nosfa's respecting the hell out of those grenades, right? Because we look at that, you're like, just go, do it, kill him. But we've seen those grenades absolutely erase any stack advantage that you had if you happen to get bounced around by a few. So I like that decision. You know, you've got the advantage. There is times when you don't always have to push it. You kind of got to be thinking about that long-term investment, that long-term game that you are playing. And there it is. He waited for it. He was patient. Came around, landed that rail, and he puts himself on the board in that first 2 minutes.
And that's just one of the reasons why Rafa is so good, right? That's a vital part of his strategy. Leaving the other person just so he can continue to press for that long-term advantage, rather than pushing in for a kill, maybe taking a bad grenade or 2 to the face, and then having his opponent respawn while he's in a bad position. He's entirely content with just having a hands-off approach, saying, you know what, you go catch a few of those health bubbles, I'll take Mega, I'll take Heavy, and then we'll meet again and see who ends up on top. Now, immediately, another engagement to follow. Nice little rail from Maxter, both players face to face. And it will be Maxter. That little grenades beforehand weak that changed it all, otherwise the rail would not have killed.
That's why you got to be careful about that, and why even when you do get your opponent down so low, that can still be super danger zone. And interesting here as Maxter kind of holding things off, setting up a little trap, but nosfa just throwing some fire out, not really committing to that fight. And I would expect the railguns to really tell the tale. Oh, Maxter dropped down, not able to get the heavy. It's stolen away. He still lands that rail, but at 7 points of health, he could not commit to that battle. He desperately needs some health now. He did pick up that 50, and there it is. He finds the 225 inside the Thunderdome, misses that rail, but the grenade's coming out. There, we see the orb coming in, and nosfa forces the fight and manages to pull out, and that was risky. Maxter could have gotten a reasonable rocket grenade bounce, and that could have turned out much differently, but nosfa took the risk, and it paid off.
If we're taking a look at the stats, we can clearly tell that it is Maxter who's been doing most of the overall damage, nearly 500 points over his opponent already, but it is nosfa who's doing a much better job at maintaining and managing the items. nosfa has 12 major item pickups, Maxter only now just got his 5th. But this is a dire situation for the Brazilian superstar. 15 points of health, he really can't move anywhere without making sure that Maxter isn't going to be in the area. And now he's just relegated to this side area of the map, picking up the small armors, hoping he can find some more, uses the orb to escape, but Maxter right on his tail. Same position as before, 15 HP once more, Maxter. Not going to let him escape. Good rocket from above, and the lead is once again tied.
Yeah, we're about halfway through. Another big hit there by Maxter off of the spawn, and he does pick up the frag, and for the first time takes the lead in the series, which is an important momentum shift. Unfortunately, the heavy does go to nosfa. He's able to clean up the frag, and we tie it back up 3-3 once again.
5-minute warning.
This is a much closer match than we saw earlier, especially towards the first half of the game. nosfa was incredibly dominant for most of the previous matchup, but this time around, Maxter, by doing more damage, he is still keeping this very competitive. Yes, he's kind of been screwed over when it comes to the item control, but by landing all of these incredible shots, he's keeping himself into the game. Still tight. Looks like nosfa is going to commit. He's got that small armor to work with. That proves to be instrumental. Perfect play from nosfa.
Very, very close on that one, but he manages to pull it out. He's going to recoup with some of those health bubbles, and he is in the lead now. And I think at the beginning of that fight, too, he got popped by a grenade coming out of that teleporter, but still, Maxter was not able to finish him off. Stack's pretty even, but Maxter picks up that heavy, puts the armor into his favor, and I do believe, well, he needed that rail, getting to pick up that LG as well. And here coming back out, nosfa lands that opening shot, but Maxter answers back. Grenades bouncing around, and nosfa realizes that he's got to get out of there. No armor stack at all, up to 100. There is a light coming through, dodging that rocket through the window into the teleporter. Now we'll wait.
nosfa voluntarily just giving up both of the major items there. Instead, going to the side section of the map to get himself at least to 100-100 and secure some more of those hourglasses. So he's got the orb at the ready once more. Good play, doing a little bit of damage. I don't think he quite meant to throw it right at the corner, but he just wanted to put Maxter in an uncomfortable position where if Maxter drops to chase, he teleports up. If Maxter stays up there, he can still just get out of the room easily, so a very good diversion. But it did net him some damage in the end. Now Heavy, once again, will be going towards Maxter. And nosfa is now forced to play a very cautious game.
Yeah, one frag up for nosfa. Less than 3 minutes left to go. Maxter's definitely probably starting to feel those beads of sweat, knowing that even one frag down, not a whole lot, but you still got to stay on top of it, play smart, not give anything else up. There was a great rail coming out by Maxter. nosfa on the run yet again, 33 points of health, grabs that health bubble, and will make his way up to the top. Finds another light, because that's all really Maxter has been given to him. He's going to swing around and grab the other one as well. And that is going to allow that Mega to be picked up by Maxter. But nosfa's still looking like he's got a decent stack. Bad place to be fighting with those peel grenades. And down low, there it is. Grenade for the frag, tying it up. It is 4-4.
2 minutes left to go, all tied up. Maxter's tournament life on the line. He's really managed to stabilize nicely and has actually overtaken nosfa in terms of major items picked up. Now Mega is up. Maxter isn't going to commit for it, doesn't feel comfortable with that just yet. Nice little rail. Can he make it another one? This would be so key. A rocket to the face, that's even better. nosfa, 5 points of health. Maxter feels that he's got the advantage. Shoddy to clean it up. Wheat.
I mean, just the heartbreak when you see a player run into a wall and lose their momentum and then turn around and see the outline of their opponent running towards them. For Maxter, that worked out really well, but double shotgun coming out here. The LG, can it clean it up? And he does. 5-5. We're back to tied with 1 minute left to go. Uh-oh. Oh, despite the grenades, nosfa stays on target. The rail hits, and he's now got a 1 frag lead.
Oh, no!
Wow!
He orb straight at his opponent, falls a little short, eats a grenade to the face for his trouble, and then Maxter with a beautiful rail ties it back up. This is one of the craziest back and forths we've seen all day. This is just a pendulum. nosfa, Maxter, both constantly in the lead, losing leads, tying it up. And with just 25 seconds left to go, I feel like we might as well be in overtime already. This next track could decide it all. Good rail from Baxter.
Oh, heavy is up. Rocket jump was missed. nosfa dishing out the damage. Maxter's very, very low. If I was Maxter, I would definitely want this to be going to sudden death. Give some breathing room. Gonna jump up to the top. Oh my God, no! Unbelievable. The perfectly placed orb to try to capture that mega. Maxter was going for it at the exact same time. He popped it. LG out. Unbelievable. Sudden death overtime. Denied. And nosfa is going to take it with a 2-0. And holy moly, after the display that these two players have shown all weekend long, Maxter with the amount of players that he's eliminated, and nosfa with his persistence throughout even the lower bracket, an incredible matchup, and it comes down to a last-minute frag.
That was just absolutely sick. I feel like the moment where it went wrong for Maxter was that missed rocket jump. Trying to get up at the heavy towards the very end, he doesn't quite get it, gets pushed right back down. And then nosfa, well, just able to clutch it out in the end. Very close game, but nevertheless a deserved win for nosfa. This means that Maxter will be leaving us and nosfa continues. Now, what is also going to continue is 40's beautiful chest hair on stream. Right. I think we can invite him back to hear what he has to say about this. 40, welcome back.
I'm so sad. I mean, I'm happy and sad. Like, great display of gaming there from nosfa, but Maxter's magic run comes to an end, and kind of who better than nosfa, right? After everything that Maxter has been through, all of the moments he put in, he runs into nosfa, and nosfa's like, you know what, I'm still kind of the daddy of South America, sorry. And just a really, really close map number 2 after, I would say, a pretty stifling map number 1 from nosfa, playing in his face, kind of throwing Maxter style almost against him with that Sorlag. Getting really, really up close and personal, not afraid to take those rocket jumps, take the fight to Maxter. Maxter just couldn't play defensive enough. And then the heartbreaking end to map number 2. Just deflating most of chat. The air went out of my lungs, not just because I'm fat, but because it just literally breaks my heart to see it end like that. But what a play from nosfa.
Yeah, I mean, it is a heartbreaking thing to see. But you know what? If you look past that last, say, 30 seconds, you really have to appreciate the back and forth that these two brought on Vale, where we saw nosfa start off very strong yet again, hitting those nice rails. Maxter kept bringing it back, and although it didn't necessarily land in his favor, that was a phenomenal display of Quake there on Vale. I mean, look at the damage, a little bit higher there on Maxter's side, but when you look at overall, I mean, even the item pickups, pretty similar. nosfa was being forced to pick up those lights pretty regularly, and it still didn't matter. Unfortunately, Maxter could not get those kills that he needed when it counted, and then that last exchange, then bring the 30 seconds back, and wow, that was wild.
Just heartbreaking. You see that last clip there, and none of them picked up the mega. It's not as though nosfa orbed in to steal it, but he got close enough to knock away Maxter and deny the pickup, and that could have been absolutely the difference maker, as I believe nosfa was sitting on 65 HP at the end of the fight. Just incredible.
Maxter has got nothing to feel bad about, though. If we just reminisce about the tournament so far, this man only just made it into the Quake Pro League a stage or 2 ago, gentlemen, and now he's taken out Cooler, Kilson, 2 of the previous champions within the Quake Pro League, then went on to knock out Base as well before finally succumbing against nosfa. This is an incredible run, his best tournament final performance by far, and I really think this is just the beginning.
Yeah, it's not over yet either. We're going to try to get a chance to talk to nosfa here to close out the day. And just as a kind of an update, because people are asking, who does nosfa play next? Well, he is going to play the loser of Wenger versus Razy. So he's got one of the Maestro boys confirmed, and that is automatically going to be a tough one. On the lower and Cypher is going to play the loser of Rafa versus Avic. So you consider the powerhouses that are still left here in the tournament. Rafa, Avic, Wenger, Razy, nosfa, and Cypher. That is an impressive roster. I'm excited to see how these folks finish up Championship Sunday here for the QPLC Stage 2 Finals. And sounds like we've got nosfa joining us. nosfa, how's it going?
Hey, what up, fellas? I'm doing great.
I'd imagine
What
after
about
that
you guys?
matchup. Congratulations, doing great. Was awesome to see your explosive play there versus Maxter. I understand that you made mention about the fact that you were telling people on Twitter, like, hey, Maxter's going to bring it. Be ready for it. And he certainly did. But then you had to go up against him when he was undoubtedly doing some damage here in the tournament. Were you pretty confident going into this matchup, or was there a little bit of worry or concern?
To be honest, man, I think I was concerned a lot, and I actually feel pretty bad for him because he had like the toughest run in the tournament by far, right? He had to play cooler than Kirsten and then Rafa, and he took like them both back to back, and he almost took Rafa as well. So. And then like Basie on lower bracket, so I think he's by far like the biggest upset in the Quake tournament's history. Like he just made history in this tournament. But then he had to face me in the lower bracket, and the thing is, well, I came to São Paulo to play the tournament, so I could have like less ping in NA. And here, I have like, it feels like I have like I'm playing with the server under my table, almost like I have like 80 ping. Meanwhile, meanwhile, Maxter is playing with like 30. So it made things a little bit unfair for him, I'd say. If I was playing from my hometown, I would be pinging like 25 and he would have like 30 MS. So it would be like a more even match, to be fair. But, well, I don't know, man. He could definitely challenge, he was definitely ready to challenge the South America crown here, man. I'm glad I took it, you know.
Yeah. Well, we also appreciate your honesty, and you know, every great player is also a humble player as well. So I know that Maxter probably appreciates this comment as well. 40 question for nosfa.
I was just going to say, is it a little bittersweet? I know the South American camaraderie is really strong, and you were kind of building each other up, but you had to put him down, nosfa. You had to. Yeah,
man. You know, I have business to settle down with Avic because I lost to him earlier today. So I was like, I'm sorry, man. I need to, you know, I need to face Avic later in the tournament.
It's not
so
personal.
I have to take you down.
It's just business.
Yeah. It's just business. Yeah. I want my revenge versus Avic. So if you're listening, Magic, be ready, brother. Coming for ya.
Oh, now that's a good one. Now, nosfa, I just have a question about the second map, right? You just saw Maxter take down Rafa in a tremendous fashion with Keel on that map. So did you have any sort of a strategy going into that, knowing you'd have to play someone who just did that to Rafa, or was it just business as usual?
I mean, I know he has like a Maxter usually has like a very good small map spoo. Like he's very good with corrupted keep, deep embrace, especially VF PNF. So I knew he was going for Q. I would play Q myself, but the fact is I'm the worst Q in the league. So I prefer to, I don't know, since he picked Q, I prefer to pick like Ranger instead, so I could have like some close range burst damage ready. You know, so I don't know, man. I was actually really scared to play that map, the second map, but it turned out that I came out on top. Thank God.
Well deserved.
Well deserved indeed. Congratulations. Chat exploded with your victory. And nosfa, I hope that you get a little bit of celebration and a little bit of rest tonight, because you certainly have a big day tomorrow. Now, let me ask you one final question. You are going to play the loser of Wenger versus Razy. If you had the choice, if you could summon the power to like make one of them lose and bring you down so you could face them, do you have a choice?
I mean, both of them are pretty like equal in terms of skill level, right? But Raze seems to be the more consistent. I mean, not seems to be. He's been more consistent since the start of the Quake Pro League, and I don't know, man. Honestly, I have been in 2019 during QuakeCon. I beat them both. So if I did it once, I can do it again. So I'm confident. So I don't know.
It's a great.
I don't have.
God, I love that swagger.
Yeah, I don't have that. I don't know a preferred opponent or something like that.
Got it. Now, great answer. And nosfa, again, congratulations for advancing on, and we will see you tomorrow. Get some rest. You got a big day ahead of you.
Thanks, fellas. Thanks for all the casting. It's been amazing so far.
You're very welcome.
Congrats, man.
Thank you. Your play has
Thank
been
you.
amazing. So thank you again. Everyone in chat, congratulations to nosfa. Really appreciate. Also, can we just give the guy a shout out? Like, you know, I always appreciate sportsmanship when it comes to esports. Yeah, we can get a little heated. We can yell at our cams when things happen that we don't think could happen. But when you